Hello everyone, Jester here, and today we're back in New Eden for another episode of my Eve story. So we left off last episode with me receiving a strange mail from a guy named Cuckoo. So I'd never had any interactions with this Cuckoo. Even to this day, I don't know how he found me or why he chose me, but he did. So about this mail, it said, "Hey Raven, I'm Cuckoo, a CEO of a corporation." I can't remember the name of the corporation, but it did have the name on there. And they were part of a larger alliance named the 99%. So the mail offered for me to take over Cuckoo's corp and run it as a CEO, and Cuckoo would be a director. The reason he gave was because he didn't want to run a corp, but he didn't want to give up full leadership and just be a line member. So of course, Eve being Eve, and I'm sure many of you know the reputation of this game, I was like, what the, is this some kind of scam? I don't know this guy, why should I even trust him? I don't know anything about the corp or the alliance. But what I did know was that the 99% were working with Test in Fountain. Now, for the last few months, we was doing roams in Fountain quite often. So maybe that's how he found me, I'm not sure. But, the offer sounded too good to be true. He wanted us to move to Null, make a lot of ISK out there, and take over his corporation. So the first thing I did was contacted my trusted corp members, and we had a little meeting. And of course, their initial reaction was the same as mine. Like, what is this guy after? Trying to work out how this benefits him and what he could get from us, in a dodgy way. But I don't know, we couldn't understand why anyone would want to give up their own corporation and just give it to some random stranger that they've never had any interaction with and work under this person. It just didn't make sense. So the first thing we did was did a bit of digging into this guy, his kill board, the corporation, and the alliance. So Cuckoo had a good kill board. He had been in Null for a while. As for the corp, he was running it just himself and his alts. There was no other members. And the alliance, I actually contacted the executive corp leader about for information on the alliance, basically. He told me that the alliance was all about getting newer players or people that didn't think they were good enough to be in Null to move to Null under the Test umbrella and just live there. Basically, the way he explained it was the 99% of Eve players, so not the elite 1%, could join in with the rest of the game. So then I asked about Cuckoo. He didn't really have much to say about him, apart from he's a good PvP player. And that was about it, really. I don't know if he knew much about him or there was a bit of bad blood between them. Maybe Cuckoo was getting pressure to join in more, and obviously he wasn't recruiting for his corporation, it was just him and alts. So that night, we called another meeting, and I explained to everybody the offer and what I found out through my digging and stuff like that. And we decided that we couldn't think of any reason to say no. Obviously there was the trust issues, but we couldn't work out what he would gain from me taking over his corporation. So we decided that we'll make a plan of action about what we're going to do. So the grand plan was for me to join Cuckoo's corporation with my main character, I would put one of my alts in charge of the Imperial Empire, because obviously I didn't want to lose my own corporation, and if things went sideways I could just rejoin and we'll just, you know, kick things off where we left it. So I sent Cuckoo a mail asking him to come on my TeamSpeak so we could talk about it. I explained that it would just be me joining for now, to make sure everything goes through, and that, you know, he understood that Eve can be a very nasty place, and doubting his offer and not trusting him is understandable. So I joined, and true to his word, he gave me CEO roles. He put together a few fittings to hand out to my corp members, so that I think it was a drake, ratting drakes he showed us, and a few other things, so that people could get ready to come up to Null, and those that couldn't fly them would stay in the Imperial Empire until they were ready. So essentially we was using my old corporation as like a stepping stone for newer players, so that anyone that wanted to eventually get into Nossek, they could join the Imperial Empire, get ready, come up on day trips, and then eventually move over with us. My members slowly moved over, the ones that were ready, and we basically sold everything we had and bought ships up in Fountain from, well, I'm guessing from Test. It took some time to get used to living in Null. At this time, there was no citadels in the game like there is now. So we had to use stationed owned by Test, because we was in Test space. We was given a few systems. We was told that those systems were for our alliance, and we could rat and mine, run sites, do whatever we wanted. We was also given a target by Test. They wanted us to harass another alliance. I believe that was known as the Pizza Alliance. It was something like that. Something to do with pizza. I remember pizza. Pizza's nice. And they lived just a few jumps out, but they was in NPC Null. Now, NPC Null, if you don't know what that is some systems in Nossek, they can't be taken by players. They're owned by NPC factions, meaning the stations are open to everyone, just like NPC high-sec stations. So these pizza guys, they lived out of there. But living in Null there was a lot to learn. At this point, really I hadn't been playing that long, so even myself was still quite new to the game, and a lot of our members were brand new, or, you know, a few months in. We had to learn about all the new chat channels. We had like the Alliance channel was for like fleets, so for like notifications, and then we had another channel that we used for general chit chat, and then like all of Test's intel channels we was invited to. We also found out that people could literally ruin your day by coming into system with a cloak your ship and just sitting there, just cloaked in the system, and because they was in there, nothing was safe to run. We couldn't go ratting or mining, because this guy, most of the time, obviously, he's just AFK. He just jumps into system, cloaks up, goes AFK, does something on another account or whatever. But the off chance that he's not AFK and we're ratting, he would, you know, use his cloak to warp to us and then have his fleet warp straight on top of us as soon as he entered system. So, you know, people were doing this for like hours and days, just sitting systems. But we were still making a hell of a lot more money than we was in high-sec. And through this, we could fly blingier ships, we could spend more money on fittings. Obviously, things cost a bit more, but we bought everything from the Test stations. There was Nossek ore, so, you know, whereas previously we'd have to buy the Nossek ore to get the minerals for it, but now we had full access to it, so our manufacturers could build whatever the hell they wanted. We had access to everything, and everyone was happy. Like, it was a new way of life, and we was enjoying it. So now we were settled. We had plenty of IS coming through. We was stocked up on ships. We were still doing some roams, mostly in Nossek, because we wasn't sure how Test felt about us roaming in Nossek, and we didn't want to cause issues, let's say, for Test or our alliance by ganking or roaming in other people's space that Test was neutral with. We didn't want to cause a Nossek war. Then we got the mail from the alliance, welcoming us, obviously, and saying that, you know, it's time we started harassing the pizza guys. So me, Cuckoo, and my directors, we sat down and we started working on a plan for the campaign against pizza, which we'll go into on our next episode. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for watching or listening to my Eve ramblings. It's getting quite hard to actually remember stuff. Like, it's been many years since I played these characters that I'm telling you about. So once again, I'd like to ask you guys to hit that like button if you're enjoying this series. Please subscribe so that you can get the notifications when our next episode comes out. I'd also like to apologize for the audio in my last video, and hopefully this one sounds better. I've recently moved and had to set everything up again, so it's not quite how I wanted it. I will listen to this one back and make sure that the narration is louder than the music, but thanks for letting me know that, and I will see you all next time.